you guys and girls out there in internet and YouTube wonderland. This is Mighty Rocket coming back at you with another rocket vlog with a difference. This rocket vlog is the first of a series that I like to call Manga Mania. Now, for those who aren't aware or not sure why I'm calling it Manga Mania, this series of videos is going to focus the spotlight on any and all anime that were distributed by the Manga Corporation. Now, back in the day here in the UK, before anime was a big sort of mainstream thing, the only way you could get hold of your Japanese anime fix was going to a specialist comic book store or the back of the HMV store and going to a shelf that they called the manga shelf, and you would find your videotapes of Japanese anime goodness. The Manga Corporation was the main distributor of anime in the UK and in Australia as well, and parts of Europe maybe, up until the early 2000s, I want to say, and then ADV Video came out over here and Funimation came out over here and kind of stole some of the Manga Corporation's thunder. But considering the Rocket Hideout is a big celebration of my childhood and you know, the things that I thoroughly enjoy, we're going to focus solely on the Manga Corporation. And it was because of that corporation that I got to experience all those animes back in the day that I grew up loving, and all the animes that you know and love. They were the ones responsible for distributing such classics from Japan, such as Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and many more like that. And we're going to cover, you know, as many classics as we can from Manga Corp. The only rule about this is I have to own the anime in question on VHS. We're throwing DVDs aside, we're tossing Blu-rays away, we're focusing solely on VHS, so you know this is going to be a big retro fest right here. I decided that the first one we would look at would be the Guyver by Boosterama. More specifically, this videotape is Guyver Data 1 to 4. So this videotape collects the first episode of the Guyver all the way up to the 4th episode, and that's the end of the tape. What's the Guyver about? If you've never watched it before, well, this video is going to help you out with that. So here's a little bit of information on the Guyver. The Guyver was first released in 1989 and was produced by Bandai Studio and obviously distributed by Manga Entertainment. It's a science fiction slash mecha series following a teenager who haphazardly takes ownership and control of a powerful bioweapon. While at first our hero, a kid named Sho Fukumachi, is unaware of how to use this bio-booster armor that he accidentally comes into contact with, he finds that he also doesn't have much time to get to grips with it, considering that the bio-booster unit's original owners, these big heavy dudes called the Cronus Corporation, they're desperate to get the unit back, even at the cost of Sho's life. That's what it has to come down to. The Guyver is an anime that exhibits corporate propaganda. You know, you've got this big corporation who's got the largest skyscraper in Tokyo, you know, and they're sort of they're not happy with the fact that this kid has stumbled upon their top secret sort of mission and what they've got going on. So it deals a lot with propaganda. You know, they influence the Japanese authorities in many different ways that are covered in the anime. And not only that, it's also the story of a struggle of a band of lone few teenagers against seemingly overwhelming odds, since they've got to, you know, deal with this evil corporation. It's a real underdog story, if you like. You know, you got this one teenager who's got this alien weapon, you know, and he's not sure how to use it, and at the same time you've got these big bad dogs of the corporate world breathing down his neck and wanting to get that unit back, and they'll kill him if they need to. And in fact, that's all they want to do. They want to kill him and get their unit back. So you really get a sense that this kid's in over his head. And after all, you know, would a lone teenager or a small band of teenagers and other waifs and strays really be able to topple a corporation that creates and employs an army of super space mutants? While in Guyver Bio Booster Armor, they sure have a shot at doing it, and the entire 12-episode series follows them in their struggle against the evil Cronus Corporation.
Well, I feel sorry for you, Sho. Why?
So, onto the tape itself. What's it like? Well, the videotape is well-paced. As I said, there are 4 episodes on it. The first episode establishes that Cronus is desperate to regain the Guyver unit that they sadly lost. The reason for them losing it is basically one of their agents, I guess, or one of their employees, who is actually one of these evil space mutants that they call Zornoids. He goes rogue and steals the unit in return for a cure for his condition, I believe. And through a roundabout way, our hero, the main character, Sho Fukumachi, comes into contact with the Guyver unit.
Hey, this thing could be some kind of landmine! Ah! This thing is alive!
So, from there, an extraction team that's come along to get the Guyver unit back actually encounters the Guyver for the first time, and as I'm sure you might suspect, the Guyver pretty much kicks their asses and sends them into hiding. The next 2 episodes establish that no matter how well Sho tries to hide the Guyver or try and continue his normal life as a teenager, this seemingly omnipotent Cronus Corporation, they're waiting around every turn for him. You know, they're waiting to kill him and get their Guyver unit back because, you know, that's their ultimate weapon and they want it back by any means necessary. It also includes a plan to use the second Guyver unit, which they actually still own, against the first Guyver unit, which Sho actually is the one that he carries. And unfortunately for the Cronus Corporation, that leads to disastrous results for them. Episode 3 on the tape takes an interesting twist by introducing the mysterious Guyver 3. Guyver 3 is unknown to Sho and his best friend who's been in the thick of all this stuff going on with him, called Tetsuya. It's someone close to them, but they don't know that. And speaking of close, in episode 3, the fact that Sho's love interest, Mizuki, who is Tetsuya's sister, is also used as a pawn in this 3rd episode. The Cronus Corporation are well aware of who Sho Fukumachi is now, and they're also, you know, well aware of everything about him, what school he goes to, who his friends are, who he hangs out with, through various sources that I won't give away. And they find out about Mizuki, how Sho's, you know, sweet on her, so they kidnap her in an attempt to draw the Guyver out so that they can take it for themselves in a big ambush. You know, this episode, yeah, it's a cliche plot, but you know what? It's always a cliche plot that works well in things like this, and episode 3 is a real treat.
Mizuki! Mizuki, what's wrong? Mizuki! Mizuki, help me! Wait, Mizuki! It's me! It's Sho! I'm Sho! No! No!
By episode 4, the anticipation is rife because through the first 3 episodes, the events have built up to a point. It's almost like watching a powder keg that you're expecting to explode at any minute, and that's really the case with episode 4. Commander Gyo, I believe his name is, who has come along to the Cronus Japanese division and seemingly taken over, has had enough of the fact that, you know, the current Japanese division hasn't been able to retrieve the Guyver unit. he's come along and he's brought along with him the Hyperzornoid Team 5, who are like this crack commando team. Perhaps what makes this videotape's last battle pulse-panning and highly, interesting for the viewer, highly gripping, is the fact that now Sho's classmates are caught in the crossfire, because the final battle of the tape takes place at Sho's high school. With his classmates in danger, Sho has no choice but to face the Hyperzornoid Team 5 in one more titanic throwdown to the end of the tape. I've seen some anime back in the day that are purposely slow-paced. It could take a couple of videotapes worth to see some real satisfying action in there, and some horror and gore and all that good grisly stuff you expect out of a manga release. But fortunately, I find the Guyver to be a visceral violence fest from the word go. At the same time, it's not just like battle on battle on battle from beginning to end of the tape. Since there's enough development there, you watch Sho struggle with trying to balance a normal teenage life after gaining the Guyver unit, all that crap looming over his head, and also the fact that there's this big corporation after him now because they know all about him and know that he has this Guyver unit. You're also treated to the inner workings of the Cronus Corporation, their influence on the Japanese authorities, the fact that they're pretty much anywhere and everywhere you turn. There is no hiding from the Cronus Corporation. So, I find it a good balance with anime and any sort of, story. It's a balance that's sometimes hard to get right. Some people like more plot and story development and character development in their in their anime, while there are others like me who usually want nothing more than blurred guts, adult entertainment and gratuitous violence. And I think the Guyver succeeds for catering to everybody. There's enough character development, plot development, intrigue, conspiracy, and at the same time there's countless amounts of violence and blood and guts flying everywhere. So I guess it's down to my final thought for the first tape. I mean, generally the Guyver itself is an anime that I'd highly recommend to you. If you were to buy tape 1 and never bought any of the other tapes in the Guyver series, I think there's enough in this first videotape to satisfy, any anime/manga enthusiast without feeling like you're missing out on the rest of the tape library, if you like. Owning Guyver Data 1 to 4, there's enough here. You see Sho, become one with the Guyver unit. You see his first few struggles against Cronus Corporation. And each battle and every story is big enough, exciting enough, and interesting enough that if you just had this one tape, you kind of knew what Guyver was all about, and you could judge whether you really liked it or whether you didn't like it, and you could play this back again and again and again, and not get bored of it and think, well, I wish I could get my hands on, volume 5 through 8, to see, and the rest from there, just to see what happens. You don't have to do that, fortunately. This stands alone reasonably well, and, there aren't, not every anime is like that. If you miss out on a couple of tapes with other series, you're going to be screwed. But fortunately, this one isn't like that, If you've never watched the original Guyver series before, or even if you have, I really recommend that you get on eBay and find it immediately. I think there's nothing like watching it on the original videotape, and there's nothing like getting all the original videotapes and watching them all in one go. There's nothing like it. I mean, okay, the whole season of this 1980s rendition of the Guyver are out and have been released on DVD, but it's just not the same. You want to watch it on a VHS, man. So get onto eBay, or go to your local flea markets if they might sell VHS, and look for it, because if you do find it, there's enough here to satisfy any anime fan, any manga fan out there, you know, you just gotta go and get it and find it, especially for the price. Now, you're not going to be paying more than, you know, £5, you know, maybe £10 at a push on eBay if somebody's really deciding to jack up the price. But it is worth that. And remember, people, back in the day, this tape probably would have been £20, which is like 35 to 40 US dollars, and it's worth that. Go and find it right now. Go and find it. You won't be sorry.